parental alienation community, and hello world. I wanted to take time to thank all of you that helped participate in the I Speak Out campaign. And as we set for our relaunch, as we're entering into 2022, I wanted to share just a little recap over this past year. At Cheyedentity, we provide knowledge and offer the opportunity to gain perspective by helping people view a high-conflict divorce or separation through the child's eyes. As COVID continues to restrict our borders and movement, this proves to be a very discouraging time for most of you. Hopefully, this video will provide support for most of you going through parental alienation at this time. Following the successes of our last campaign, I Speak Out, I wanted to also bring the same positivity and support to you as we enter into the year 2022. I have now been on this journey now for 11 years, and I hope that my story, as well as that of others, will encourage and support you. There have now been 14 attorneys collectively, 7 judges, and I have flown well over 404 flights. This shouldn't discourage you, but encourage you to keep on the good fight. During this time of year especially, you might experience some emotions which are at an all-time high. Suicide as well as divorce, which involve children, are at the top of the list. But the most important thing that you realize is that you are not alone. Just to share a recap of all the inspiring stories to motivate you and encourage you along the way. Monica met her husband in 1997. At the time, he entered into the relationship with 2 sons from past relationships. His oldest son was 12 years old and hadn't seen his father in 7 years. His youngest son was 5 years old and had a decent relationship with his father. He always paid his obligations on time, regardless if he saw the children or not. Monica and her now husband officially tied the knot in 1999. And they spent a lot of time traveling afterwards due to the custody battle. Monica and her husband also spent a lot of money going back and forth from Florida to Virginia for several court appearances. This began to take a toll on not only Monica, but her husband as well. This was when parental alienation had begun. In the same year, Monica was diagnosed with bladder cancer and her husband with diabetes. Not only were they battling ill health, Monica and her husband were also fighting to see his son as well. It was an emotional roller coaster for all the parties involved, and unfortunately, the journey finally ended in 2012 when the elder son was murdered. This left a lot of questions hanging in the air. Amid the grief, Monica and her husband wondered if they had fought hard enough or even long enough. Sadly, these questions will never be answered. Brian was kidnapped by his father at the age of 2. When he became a young adult, he tried to search for his mother. At the age of 8, his father told him that his mother was an irresponsible party. At age 16, he told Brian that his mother had thrown him across the room and said it didn't even feel like his child. At the age of 18, he informed Brian that his mother had passed away. When Brian was 33 years old, something strange happened while he was visiting his mother's grave. This was when Brian learned that for 7 years, his mother had searched endlessly for him. She had written letter after letter over the years, begging Brian's father to let her see him. He never agreed, and she never got to see him. She attempted suicide, but was fortunately unsuccessful. Her neighbors saved her at the nick of time, but she didn't leave unscathed. She developed brain damage because of that. Jill also experienced parental alienation in her journey, but instead of turning to sadness, grief, and heartbreak, which is a part of the alienation process, she didn't curl up into a ball, hide, and suffer in silence. She had to fight because of her children. She spoke out and eventually went on to be a part of an organization that provided people a choice to speak out and try to find ways to help their situation. Whether they were at the mild, moderate, or severe level of parental alienation, Jill progressed forward. These are just examples of people who have gone through this experience. It could be a very sad and heartbreaking process to go through, but these people and many more are living testimony that the end will be worth it. There is a way to make it to the light at the end of the tunnel. When your children are grown, they'll be thankful that you didn't give up. I encourage you during this time, especially as we enter into the year 2022, to be strengthened by these stories and to speak out as well as we relaunch our campaign. My name is Lala Justice, and I speak out. Join us today and stay strong.
I'm feeling good now, no.